Movie Critics, Episode 3. You know the drill. Talk about the movies. Talk about how bad they are.
Hey.
Talk about how good they are. Do all the things like that.
Keep going.
We're off to a good start here with our third episode ever. We got some dank-ass movies to talk about here. And by that I mean an interesting variety of movies. And by that I mean 3 movies. The very first one is, of course, your garbage Netflix exclusive. It's Extinction. It is, just to get right down into the nitty-gritty of it, the most boring post-apocalyptic movie I have ever seen in my life. It's a movie that... by the time...
It has no emotion. It's just them being there.
And by the time that the big plot twists finally exist, you've spent about an hour of the movie being so angry that it's so bad that the plot twist is unfulfilling. It's... okay. Let's go back to the beginning here. It is a sci-fi, kind of post-apocalyptic movie starring Michael Pena. I assume that's how you pronounce his last name. Might be wrong. I'm not from Spain or Portugal or anything like that.
Okay. Clearly. No. I don't know what his exact nationality is. Oh, Chicago. I see. From Mexico.
Okay. He is Mexican. You would all probably know him best for his Ant-Man fame as Luis.
He's been in a lot of smaller roles. A ton.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He's in everything. Whether it's the incredibly prestigious Lego Ninjago movie, or...
Ninjago?
Yeah, or the hugely successful My Little Pony movie.
No, he's in better movies than that. Don't make him sound bad.
He's in American Hustle, Crash, other movies and things. It's hard to make him look better when, like, A Wrinkle in Time is one of his highest credits here.
Oh, please.
Okay, no. He's a fine actor when he knows his niche, and unfortunately, this movie does not play to any of his strengths at all. He was, of course, very funny in Ant-Man, a very likable character, a charismatic character, funny the whole way out, and in this movie, he's just so dull. Oh my god, he's so boring. There's not a shred of emotion in his entire character. He plays, a dad with a family, with Janice Ian from Mean Girls.
You didn't even know she was in that, I had to tell you.
You're right.
He tries to act like he knows things, and he doesn't.
I know things. If I knew it before I said it, that means I knew it.
Whatever!
I'm just saying what she's from. It doesn't mean I have to know it.
Why don't you say her actual name?
Lizzie Kaplan.
Yeah. So they're married and they have 2 girls.
Mm-hmm. One of them is a really kind of weird girl who apparently likes elevators. I don't know, the character traits in this movie are really confusing. The 3 character traits that are ever really explored.
Well, you don't really get to know the characters at all. Mm-hmm. It's a full movie. They had time to do that, but they just didn't.
Yeah.
It was all about... So he has dreams about this, alien invasion, and that's... Doesn't the movie start with that? Start with one of his dreams?
Yeah. Everyone's crying on the ground and dying. There are guns blazing everywhere. It's this big, dramatic debacle.
Yeah, so the whole movie is mainly about that, and there's never a moment where it's just them being a family. It's always he's thinking about this thing in the back of his mind before we even get to know who he is.
And it doesn't stop. the dream sequences, it's like every 5 minutes it's another one, and it's like, good God, just get on with the plot already. I'm tired of seeing the exact same scenes from this dream over and over. It is shameless padding if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And it's a mess. The whole movie is a mess. Of course, go figure. Oh, it turns out he's right. This big extinction level event happens, which is why it's called Extinction. You get it?
Yeah.
And
So nobody believed him, and they told him to go see a psychiatrist, and that he was crazy.
all that. This giant alien invasion does actually happen, starts just wiping out everybody mercilessly for no reason, and the entire time that it's happening, gosh, it's so unremarkable. It's so unremarkable that I can't even explain how boring it is. Like, every action scene is the least creative action scene you've ever seen.
Normally, when you watch a movie like this, and there's something around the corner that's gonna get them, you actually are like, oh, what's gonna happen? And you're nervous, and you're like, oh, are they gonna die? And this one, you just watch it, and there's nothing else to do but just watch it. You don't feel anything. They barely look like they feel anything.
Like, there are some movies that have too much foreshadowing. This movie doesn't have enough. Besides, the obvious slammed-in-your-face dream sequences. Yeah. But everything else, it's like, okay, I'm watching it. Oh, okay. That guy came out with a gun. Oh, okay. The main character, I guess, knows how to hack into alien technology, despite the fact that he has no business being able to do
human.
that. It's like, ah!
He has some kind of tech job. Like, what does he do?
Well, I would tell you, but they don't flush anything about any of the characters out, so I really can't tell you what his job is, because
he fixes some machines or something.
Yeah,
basically.
He's in this wonderful white-looking building doing a thing, and then he falls asleep, so the thing goes off, and then we don't ever learn what the thing was or what his job is. We don't know anything about this character. It doesn't give you a single chance to know anything about him. It's just...
And anytime there's a kind of like a twist or a plot drop, something changing the story, they don't build it up at all. They don't do anything. They don't even, like, I don't know, they just, like, drop it like, oh, this is happening now.
Yeah. They are the most flaccid plot twists that I've ever seen.
That's good. That's good.
like, oh, spoilers, because you all care at this point. What's the big plot twist? They finally take down one of the aliens, take its helmet off, and oh, it's a human. And upon your initial view, if you don't know what's really going on in the plot, which you probably don't, you're like, that's it.
No one does.
That's it? Humans? That's the best you can do as an alien threat? So they unhelmet him, and this bootleg Finn Balor-looking motherfucker is just, for some reason, totally okay with being captured and doesn't, like, self-destruct or anything, and then winds up helping them, because it's the right thing to do.
All while having no emotion.
Yes, no emotion, just as little emotion as every other character. The only character that shows any emotion is their younger daughter, and it's the worst kind of emotion, because every line she delivers is like this! Every single line! It's brutal. Getting through any scene with that youngest daughter, she's just whining the entire movie. Like, from the second the first shots are fired till, like, the end of the movie, she does not deliver any line. Yeah, just constant, non-stop crying, bawling. And you might think, oh, well, that's normal. Any kid would be crying to that. You know what's not normal? Her actively running into the most dangerous areas all the time.
And not listening.
Like, yeah, kids are stupid, and kids will do dumb things to get their toys and stuff, but I think there comes a certain threshold where fear takes over and you don't move.
Yeah.
Because you have a basic natural instinct to survive.
And you'll listen to your mom instead of run towards the alien shooting at you.
It's so dumb. It's just a terrible character. And then again, the older daughter, you don't know anything about her, except apparently she likes to hang out in the elevator, which doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Gosh.
All the characters are very one-dimensional. There's no change in any of them throughout the whole movie.
No, none at all. Except for the whole big twist reveal, which, you know what? If I spoiled the sorry to bother you twist, I'm gonna spoil this twist because it does not even deserve to be mentioned. Turns out, they're synthetics. They took over the planet a long time ago because they gained sentience and then wiped their own memories, and now the humans came back to wipe them out.
No, wait. The humans came to wipe them out the first time. Some of them survived, and almost all of those who did survive had their memories wiped and basically created these human memories at, I don't know, some company or something, so that they would not know that they were synthetic, and they would think they had a family. So the family, the main family, the dad, mom, and the kids are all synthetic. And they just made up the story that they're a family.
And this brings me to the single worst plot hole in the entire movie. It's said by a character that it was 50 years since the big uprising happened, so we assume that they've had their memories wiped for these 50 years now. How did they not catch on that they weren't humans by the fact that they have had children for 50 years? That nobody has aged for 50 years? This is never addressed in the movie. There is not a single point in the entire movie where this is justified or maybe cleared up. It's just like the only thing that they justify, no, the only thing that they explicitly state is that it's been 50 years since the events of the dreams. We'll call them dreams, whatever, because I can't think of a better word right now.
Oh, right. So in the beginning, he has two different sets of dreams, I guess. One our future, right? Or is it all past?
It's all past.
Oh. So the dreams he's having about what's going to happen is actually what has already happened.
Right. And they couldn't figure out that they were synths after 50 years of not aging.
And then when they do find out, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's all it is.
They don't even care.
Oh, I remember. I think that's literally a line in the movie is I remember. Yeah, all of the dialogue was piss poor in this movie too. From the very opening monologue to the very ending, it was either extremely boring and generic or ridiculously cliched.
Yeah. And it's a good plot twist, but you have to wrap it up all nicely in a bow and make it believable, not just drop it and then have them not care.
Plus, by the time that you get to the plot twist, you've been obsessing over how completely shit the rest of the movie is. You're like, okay, he hacked into the alien gun, the aliens are actually humans, none of this makes sense. And by the time that the plot twist comes, you're not even, accepting of everything that has happened up to that point. Even though it all makes sense now, that doesn't mean that you like it. It's
maybe if they acted like they cared that they were synthetic.
So unfulfilling in every way. It's just, again, how do you make a sci-fi post-apocalyptic movie boring? It should be the easiest thing on the planet to at least make fun to watch.
It's because all the characters just, if something happens, scary, whatever, they just, stare into the... I don't know what they're staring at. They just, stare instead of show any kind of emotion. It's like a blank stare, oh, and that's it. They don't do anything else.
And they don't do anything exciting during the survival aspect either. You look at a movie like A Quiet Place, it's less about the immediate danger and more about the impending danger. This is literally, we escape from a skyscraper, walk down a street, get to a storage building, and then leave on a train. That's everything that happens.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no building up the atmosphere of tension. It's alien invasion happens, and then the movie pretty much plays out in real time for the next hour. So within an hour, they're all safe. That's not a convincing Extinction level event, I must say.
Netflix does not have a good streak on this show so far.
Netflix is definitely quantity over quality. I hope that there comes a day at some point where Netflix just releases the perfect movie. Just this beacon of shining light in the streaming world, but it's not gonna happen.
I'm sure they have good ones, just not the ones we're watching.
Yeah. Maybe someday.
Maybe. They seem to do good with food stuff.
Well, considering food stuff isn't exactly plot-driven, it's a little bit easier to be palatable.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's Extinction. Not highly recommended. Not recommended at all, really.
It's not even like a movie to just sit and watch because you don't want to really think about anything. Like, pick something else.
Like, even at least a movie like Battlefield Earth, which is notoriously shitty, is at least funny. It's so bad that it's funny.
Is that the one with John Travolta?
Yeah, it's the one about Scientology.
And his dreadlocks?
Yeah. At least that movie is, like, hilariously bad. This movie's just...
It's boringly bad.
It's boringly bad, yeah. It's,
which is the worst kind.
Moving on to a much, much better movie. It is the directorial debut, the film debut of one Mr. Bo Burnham, which if you're around my age in this approximate demographic, there's a
25.
good chance... there's a good chance that you have at some point been subjected to his brand of YouTube comedy in the past decade. Not a guarantee, as you, Tara, have not seen any original Bo Burnham material in your life.
No.
But,
I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
For shame. Bad millennial. Try again.
No, I have other things to watch.
Like 8th grade.
Yeah.
This is 8th grade. Ta-da! Starring Elsie Fisher, who actually, her arguably largest role has been voicing one of the kids from Despicable Me.
No, I thought that was the other girl. Oh.
Yeah! What now? She was Agnes. That's
okay,
right.
Jeez.
This movie, I have a lot to say about this movie. I don't even know what order I want to tackle it all in. This is a remarkably important movie. This is a remarkably well done movie. It's a movie that hits on everything exactly how it has to. For being a directorial and screenwriting debut, it's an absolute achievement.
Thank God all the kids actually look like their age.
Yeah, exactly. They actually cast kids that are appropriate for the age, not casting Brad Pitt as a 8th grader.
Okay, not that, but like a 17-year-old.
Yeah. It is, of course, about being in 8th grade. Elsie Fisher portrays the character of Kayla, who is your prototypical, insanely awkward, socially anxious, uncool, just very ho-hum 8th grader in her second to last week of 8th grade, just trying to survive.
Very unnoticeable to others.
Yes, voted as most quiet at the end of the school year, which of course just destroys her.
I feel that.
As she vlogs her whole life, vlog, how do the kids pronounce it?
And you just got mad at me because I didn't watch YouTube?
I don't watch vlogs, though. That's the girl part of YouTube.
Okay, but it's vlogs.
Vlogs. I'm gonna say that we're gonna cut that part out, but let's be real, no one's editing this shit.
No.
Yeah.
She does these little inspirational videos for everybody. She gives everybody advice that she herself can't take, and nobody is watching the videos anyway.
Yeah, she's got like 1 view, no views, 2 views on like every video. Just a really sad state of affairs. But dang it, she tries.
It's kind of like Instagram, how everybody shows their best life and acts like that's, what they're doing every day and they have the most amazing life. And she is kind of doing that with her videos, and then she turns them off and she is like a basket case. Yep.
And it's funny because it even literally shows her using Instagram, taking the same selfie 28 times until she gets the perfect one. Just like
the one,
kids.
Just woke up like this.
Exactly. Never before has there been a movie that has encapsulated modern youth culture so flawlessly and to a T. Nothing in this movie was exaggerated at all. It was all super accurate, from the references kids were tossing out to the teachers trying to appeal to the kids, are using terms like "it's gonna be lit" and dabbing in the middle of like an assembly, just like super embarrassing stuff. This entire movie is embarrassing.
Which, of course, the movie will be completely irrelevant to kids in like 10 years, but 10 years from now, when those kids who are in 8th grade now watch it, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that was my life.
Yeah, this movie, the actual content of the message will not change, but it will be a little cultural time capsule, that's for sure. If you even try to use this movie to relate to kids by next school year, you're going to be out of date.
Yeah, it will age poorly just for the references.
Right, but if you need to understand the inner psyche of a shut-in 8th grader right now, this is the movie that you have to see. This is a movie most people have to see. It tells you exactly what 8th graders are thinking, how they rationalize the things that are important to them, the things that they think are important to them.
May give you a little PTSD.
Yeah.
Gave me some.
And 8th graders themselves should see this movie, because the advice given in this movie is absolutely solid. The be confident, be yourself, don't fall for this, don't get yourself in this position. And this is one of the soapboxes I was really going to get on, is this movie really illustrates how much of an utter failure the MPAA is for movies. This movie about 8th graders, practically for 8th graders, is rated R because of a few uses of the word fuck. Because, 8th graders don't talk like that. No, your poor little 8th grader has never even heard the word, that's for sure. That, and a few sexually charged jokes as well, which, again, are relevant to 8th graders at this point.
The movie went light on that stuff, actually. Like, really light. There
Right.
are way, way more.
Yeah, like, for it being rated R, you would have thought that it would have been way worse, and it was honestly pretty tame. Bo Burnham himself said in his Reddit AMA, guess what? Life is rated R. And it's true. You're not gonna keep it away from your kids. Kids aren't going to not see it. It's not going to be escaped. I'm not saying you have to embrace every unsavory thing on the planet, but you can't hide from it. And this movie does not hide from it. It takes some of the gnarliest parts about being that age and gives them to you full force. There was one particular scene that I think the entire theater was silent during and was just churning stomachs the entire time. And I'm not talking the pool party scene either.
Yeah, but every girl's stomach churned in that.
The pool party scene was a little piece of horror as well. That's right, A24, they may have hit us hard with Hereditary, but this is the real horror movie of the year. I'm talking a truth or dare scene, after dark, in a car, poor Kayla and one high school guy, and just you think it's gonna take a turn for the worst, and it does, and she's able to just barely stand up for herself, but the whole time you're like, no. No, nothing can happen to you, you're precious. I've seen some people talk about hearing, like, girls in the theater next to them start crying during this scene, because I'm sure people have been in that situation.
Yeah.
Of just
Didn't make it out.
Yeah, of the immense pressure, the absolutely unacceptable treatment of them, the complete dehumanization of them in that moment, gosh. Yeah,
so the movie is hilarious from start all the way up until that point, which is probably like 3/4 of the way or so. And it's like you're laughing a minute before that scene, and then everybody is dead silent for almost the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they they make a very, very good move. They don't try to go from that scene to an immediate funny scene because you need time to take that in. You need time to digest it. You need time to accept that just happened. You need to expel it out in a way that makes sense for you. And they do a very good job of that. They give you ample time to let that air out. They give you some kind of cool down scenes before it finally gets a little bit more lighthearted at the very end again. But it is, oh man, it is heavy. And again, that's why I say 8th graders need to see this. Because when you're in that situation by yourself as the main body there, and it's happening to you, it's extremely difficult to understand how to handle that kind of situation when it's you in the heat of the moment. When you're watching it, from the outside looking in, you think, oh, that's easy. You do this. You say no. But a lot of people don't get to even be exposed to that kind of just utter bullshit, really.
And he could have very easily taken the easy way out and just made it a bullying thing, like made the conflict bullying, which I saw a lot of people criticize it for because they were like, there's no way people wouldn't bully her or tease her or anything. But people have seen that done a million times, and they need to see that scene because, I mean, there's hardly any scenes like that where she handles it and, I mean, it destroys her, but she makes it out okay. And,
barely, yeah.
Yeah. And people just don't put that in movies like this one.
Yeah, it's far more effective than the bullying scene because so many times bullying scenes are overdone. It's like ridiculous bullying, like in It, where the guy's like literally like carving
Henry?
into the yeah, when Henry's
gosh.
literally like carving into his belly with a knife. It's like that's not normal there. Normal bullying is like calling names, shoving into a locker. I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying it's acceptable. Fuck bullies. But like, this was so much more real. This was so much more intimate and intimidating the entire time. And, very, very hard to sit through. And yet, still very important. But again, yeah, the rest of the movie, absolutely hilarious. Ridiculous scenes involving bananas. Ridiculous classroom shenanigans, just some really quirky characters all throughout.
Every time her crush comes out, this like, what kind of music is that plays? It's so funny.
It is funny. I can't really describe it, but it gets you every time, especially that first time when you're not expecting it, which now you will be. Sorry. But,
well, you spoiled other things.
Yeah,
so.
I know. And
it's just hilarious.
It might be easy for some people to criticize how easy the plot points jump around and how a lot of plots are never resolved. But honestly, that's what being in 8th grade is. What's important to you one week is going to change next week.
That even happens to me still today.
Exactly. You could be totally into one thing, and then the next day, you just could not care less about it.
Yeah, and the movie's only spanning 2 weeks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it is accurate. Like, kids don't spend a lot of time obsessing about one thing. They all of a sudden 2 days later they want something else or like somebody else or whatever.
Exactly. So it really, again, I'm gonna say it 500 times, but it absolutely nails what kids are like. And gosh, I don't even know the amount of intense research that it took Bo Burnham to get it so right. Like, he had straight up been like hanging out in middle schools this whole time. Which I doubt, of course, for obvious reasons. But man, it's...
And even the script, like, that's exactly how kids talk. I even talk like that sometimes.
Yeah, there is no clever dialogue in this movie, but
Everybody doesn't know the right thing to say all the time. It's like, that's literally how kids talk. They don't even know what they're saying while they're saying it.
you will never hear more likes and ums in a script ever because that's how kids talk when they don't really know what to really do, but they're trying to sound like they're confident about what they're doing,
And they're actually really nervous.
Exactly. It's like it doesn't have to be clever because it's so incredibly real. I'm being a little over exaggerative. There is a lot of clever dialogue in this movie, but the funniest of it is just the so human interaction between the characters. Just these awkward characters.
Cringeworthy moments, a lot of them.
Yes, and this is cringe in the true sense of the word, not in the I'm a 12-year-old on the internet and that was cringe because I don't like it kind of way.
It's cringeworthy in the way where it makes you think about yourself at her age, and you're like, oh, right. I don't want to think about that.
I have said that the act of embarrassment is the most effective when you can make somebody else feel uncomfortable because they picture being you. They feel like they're you, and it just digs down deep inside you. Like the pool party scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a girl, and even I was sitting there going, no, nothing is good right now. Nothing is good.
But she, even though she's super timid and nervous, and she kind of messes up a lot, she sure does a lot of brave things. Even going to that party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First off,
she confronts some people pretty head on in parts of the movies. She keeps making her videos. She goes to things that she doesn't want to. Yeah, I mean, far as awkward 8th graders go, yeah, Kayla Day is an incredibly bold little individual. So,
also, her dad is, like, the best dad in the world.
Oh, gosh. It is so nice to see a single dad who is portrayed as caring, not a total buffoon, genuinely nice. It's like, a lot of the times when there are other, like, coming-of-age movies or movies about kids, parents are often portrayed as kind of, like, either total jerks or total doofuses. And yeah,
they just dismiss what the kids are saying,
right,
or what they feel.
Right, and he does not. He takes everything she says to heart. He is the most supportive dad I've ever seen in a movie ever. The most just genuinely nice guy. Even when she's being a complete snot to him, he takes it in stride. He's like, oh, I get it.
And
that's how it is.
And yet she gets all of her confidence from him, like from things he says to her. Even when she's fighting him, like, he tells her to put herself out there. And she's like, Dad, shut up. And she gets all mad at him. But then a little bit later, she does her little video about it. And it's like, clearly that came from her dad. She obviously counts on his opinion. And she cares about what he thinks. Mm-hmm. And he basically makes it okay for her to do all these things, because without having a parent to support you like that, you're not going to get that from your friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an incredibly very touching scene with the two of them after the brutal car scene, which is just wonderful, and I'll let you watch that for yourself because I expect all of you to see this movie after this because it's just so good. But yeah, lots of refreshing stuff, lots of just very real stuff. I love how the one high school friend she makes is like, you think she's going to wind up being just like a total snake, and she's not. She's just genuinely a super nice girl who just wants to have a little friend to look out for and help out, even though she couldn't help in the car scene. That was a failure on her part, but oh gosh. But yeah.
If you'd like to see this, sorry that we've spoiled most of it.
Yeah. But gosh, it's just good. It's just important. It's It's nice. All the basic positive adjectives that I have in my brain are just kind of spilling out now, giving you this wonderful windmill of monotony that I'm providing right now.
Okay.
Any other words to say about 8th grade?
No.
Wow, you sounded so confident that you were going to have something.
What do you mean?
You're like, No.
No, because you didn't let me finish.
Oh, okay.
I said, no, but I'm ready for Pooh.
That's right. Winnie the Pooh.
Do it in your Pooh voice.
I don't have a good Pooh voice. You know that.
Yes, you do.
Not when I'm on the spot. It's not
Okay, you
very
think
good
about it, and then you'll end the episode as Pooh.
Oh, no.
Christopher Robin, Pooh.
Yes, Disney's Christopher Robin, starring Ewan McGregor and Haley Atwell and the marvelous voice talents of Jim Cummings. If you ever thought Cat Dog would be Winnie the Pooh, well, there you go. Or at least the cat part of Cat Dog. This is a weird movie. I'm gonna level with y'all. It's
I loved it.
It's good. It's absolutely good. Not getting a lot of love from critics, but who cares about critics? They mean nothing. Christopher Robin is one of the many live-action Disney adaptations, and it's not even so much an adaptation as it is a direct continuation of the Winnie the Pooh cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
All about Christopher Robin growing up, outgrowing toys, being burdened with responsibility, and just not having time to be a kid at all anymore.
Not even have time to play with his own kid.
Exactly, his own daughter. He's just like, oh, hey, wife, bring the kid out on vacation. I gotta work.
He truly cares about his wife and his daughter. He just brushes them off all the time because he has work to do.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people rag on this movie for being quote-unquote depressing, and it's not really depressing. It's more so a very kind of realistic bittersweet. If you think it's depressing, reflect on yourself and tell yourself, when was the last time that you played with your stuffed animals? Probably a long, long time, right? Because that is reality, and that is what happens, even when your stuffed animal is Winnie the Pooh.
He's the best. Pooh is the greatest thing anybody has ever had.
The Pooh dialogue in this movie was so absolutely spot on. Like,
That's so funny.
Gosh, the one-liners coming from Pooh were just rapid fire, and they did not stop coming, and they were fantastic.
Because that's how Pooh talks.
Yeah. I've always said Pooh is the inner desire in all of us to shirk responsibility and live life at your own pace, not worrying about anything that comes your way.
Just worrying about when you're going to get your next bowl of honey.
Exactly. The highlights of this movie were absolutely the one-on-one Christopher Robin with Pooh scenes. Those were the best scenes in this movie.
And there were a lot of them.
Yeah, that was a good bulk of the movie, and that was where all the emotion came from. That was where all the best dialogue came from. It was where the best moments that had you smiling and on the verge of crying the most were the Pooh Robin scenes.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people saying that they should have included the other characters more. But it's all about Christopher Robin and Pooh. They're best friends. They were all of the touching moments in the cartoons and everything were between the two of them.
Yeah. Honestly, the third act of this movie, where the rest of the characters do play a bigger role, is really the weakest.
Yeah, it is.
When Tigger and Piglet and Eeyore all join the fray and go to the real world, not the 100-acre wood, and they start joining up, and that's when it gets a little too slapsticky, a little too, I don't want to say lighthearted, because Pooh should be lighthearted, but it's a really bizarre paradigm shift, going from the more bleak existential realism of the first act and then the transformation in the second act, and then just the third one being just wacky the whole time. It was too wacky. It was a little overboard. And honestly, the inclusion of Tigger in general will just make something go overboard.
Well, yeah. That's Tigger.
Now, Eeyore had some fantastic lines in the movie as well. Eeyore, I would say, next to Pooh, was the best of the 100 Acre Wood characters.
That's because Eeyore is always funny.
Yes. Eeyore is always great. Piglet's voice acting was off. He didn't have the stutter.
He didn't have the cute little wispy voice.
Yeah, it's just... I couldn't even tell when it was Piglet talking half the time because I was like, I don't hear Piglet, but it was Piglet. And then it's just, I don't know. Not the best voice acting job for Piglet. Obviously, Jim Cummings does a great Pooh and a great Tigger, so he did them well.
I mean, obviously they chose to make Piglet sound that way. It wasn't like an accident. He clearly wasn't trying to sound like the cartoon.
Which is a dang shame, because that's the best Piglet.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cute.
The actual character design was really wonderful.
Oh, I loved it. And a lot of people said bad things about a lot of things in the movie, but one of the things they said were that the characters weren't colorful enough. And it's like, well, how many years has it been? 30 years?
Yeah. They're worn toys.
And it just makes you, like, if you look at them, you're like, oh, they're old. They look like my old toys. And it's sad. But they have to look like that. They can't be bright colored in a movie like this.
Mm-hmm. Right. It would be too clashing with the tone of the rest of the movie. I mean, this is about the grayest, dreariest London that you'll see on screen. To have a bright orange Tigger bouncing through it would be a little much.
It just wouldn't look right.
Yeah. But otherwise, Pooh had his red shirt. Piglet had his pink skin.
His crop top.
Pooh's sexy-ass crop top. And they were just really wonderfully designed characters. They, even if they weren't bright and colorful, they
were so cute.
They were very comfy looking, and the computer animation with their movement was outstanding, I thought.
Yeah, and like they look like real animals. They look like real old stuffed animals, not like the new Pooh stuffed animal, the bright yellow one, and he's shaped all right. Like the cartoon and his top. And it's like that Pooh in this movie looks like an actual old bear.
Yeah. Just a little ratty, the fur all over, sticking out every which direction.
Yeah, the style. He has a typical, like, bear figure, not like a Winnie the Pooh figure, because they're different, the newer cartoon.
And while we're talking about aesthetics, may I say how absolutely gorgeous the 100 Acre Wood looked. Those were some lush, beautiful scenes.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Yeah, fantastic overgrowth all over, beautiful little streams with scenic bridges over them. Just
the perfect place for a kid and his toys.
Exactly. Wonderful lighting effects. It was an absolutely gorgeous time in the 100 Acre Wood. And the rest of the movie looked good, too. Barring, of course, like I said, the very, very dreary London, which was,
I loved it. I love dreary.
But the little cottage that they stay at was very cute, too.
And, like, the scenes, they had scenes in the woods. It wasn't the 100 Acre Wood, though, I don't think. Or maybe it was, I don't know. It was dreary because all of the characters weren't there.
That was the 100 Acre Wood, yep.
Okay, yeah. And it shows, like, some shots of Pooh in the woods kind of walking by himself, and you can barely even see him because it all blends in so good. And it's like, oh, poor Pooh.
A lost Pooh wandering in the forest, not knowing where anybody is. Yeah. It's very aesthetically pleasing through a good majority of the movie.
Something I wanted to say about this was comparing it to Toy Story 3, which I hated.
You freak.
Oh, I hated it. It was so depressing to me. And it wasn't about Andy and Woody. It was mostly just about the toys going to the daycare. And it ended with him saying goodbye to them, basically. I mean, he'd already grown up, but it ended with him leaving them. And this movie starts with him leaving them And the whole rest is spent of them getting back together. And it's like, that's so happy. He's getting back together with his toys, and he's going to keep them. And, well, spoiling. I mean, obviously it's going to have a happy ending, but he plays with them with his daughter in the end, and it's like, oh my gosh, that is so cute, because that's what you want to do with your toys. You're like, I have to keep these toys so I can play with them with my kids. And Andy just gives his toys away, and it drives me nuts. So this movie, to me, is what Toy Story 3 should have been.
Maybe Andy will get them back in Toy Story 4.
He doesn't deserve them back. He gave them away. He didn't just leave them where he was going to be able to go back. He gave them away.
Because Toy Story 3 wasn't about nostalgia. It was about the giving to those who need a toy. It was about your time is up and there's somebody else who can use that toy.
But I'd prefer that he go back.
Oh, okay, I see.
Christopher Robin didn't give up Pooh to anyone else. Nobody else deserves Pooh.
Neither did Christopher Robin after the slanderous things he said about Pooh.
That was so sad.
Christopher Robin was a giant dick in this movie.
Well, no. In some parts, he was just being an adult and being realistic, how all adults are.
Yep. And that's what a lot of people, I think, kind of slam it on with the, it was depressing part is, they're like, Christopher Robin isn't supposed to be mean to Pooh. It's like, that's the point, is the overwhelming pressure and responsibility put on him in the real world wore on him so intensely that...
It wasn't depressing because you understand why he's doing this and why he says it all, but yet it's sad because of Pooh and Pooh's reaction to it. And it's like, oh my gosh, you can't be that way to Pooh, but then it's like, well, you're an adult and you have responsibilities, though.
Yep.
So you can't just quit your job and go play with Pooh.
And yeah, it's not only sad because of Pooh, but it's sad because of the way it makes you look at yourself. You're like, gosh, am I turning into that?
Please never let that be me.
Right, you're like, is that what it's gonna be?
Which I wonder how... well, we're actual adults, kind of. We're 25, but I wonder how, like, adults, like 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, I wonder what they think when they would watch this. Mm-hmm. If they would get depressed.
There's very much a huge message of sometimes you have to do nothing. It's what Pooh says, I believe, is that doing nothing can lead to the very greatest something. Yeah.
People say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. That's the one.
Such fantastic lines from Pooh. Just, oh my gosh, they were the best.
It's like all the classic lines, because everybody's heard that line before. Mm-hmm. It's not new to this movie, but others that are new to the movie, there's no quality dip in what Pooh says. It's all accurate. It's all what he would say. Mm-hmm. And it's hilarious. Because you're like, that's what I think, really. Pooh says what we all think.
Yeah, we all just wish we could be Pooh. Exactly.
Yeah. And him, basically, Christopher Robin was taking care of him like he was a small child because he kept, like, asking for food and just doing kid things.
Asking for balloons, talking to strangers.
You don't need that balloon, Pooh, but I would very much like to have it. It's like, how can you not get him the balloon?
So, of course, he does get him the balloon. Yeah, there's, just a lot of really funny moments, a lot of bittersweet moments, a lot of just heartbreaking moments. It's really not a kid's movie. It's perfectly acceptable for kids. There's not a single thing wrong with the movie, but kids...
They will not understand it because they're not adults.
Right. The majority of what the plot means may go over their heads. The majority of the Pooh humor, I mean, yeah, he's a cute little bear, but a lot of the stuff he says... No,
and you don't, like, even I didn't realize the things that Pooh said until I watched it later when I was a teenager, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's hilarious! Yeah. I didn't know what any of that meant as a kid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me want to go back and watch the sadly failed 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie. I've heard
of Goodbye Christopher Robin.
I think it was just called Winnie the Pooh.
Oh.
It was Disney's last hand-drawn movie.
Oh, I remember when that came out, but I didn't see it.
I know. No one really saw it because it came out the same time as Harry Potter, the same day. So it got completely destroyed.
Sad.
Yeah, it got annihilated. And it really makes me want to like go back and see that because I've been hearing so many people talk about how great the 2011 Winnie the Pooh was, and I'm like, man,
we have to see it.
I know. It's a shame that something got so buried by the greater forces of evil of he who must not be named.
But there are so many Pooh cartoons, and this one, like, they're so cute, and it's so fun to see them in real life. Like, not really real life, but, you know, they're not cartoons, and it's
Live action.
like precious because it makes you think about them actually as his stuffed animals.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like if you love... it's like if you go back to the first, like, Winnie the Pooh movie, the classic one, the original, and it's got like that opening kind of crawl with like the opening credits showing all the actual stuffed animals sitting on the shelf. And if you ever thought, man, that would be just wonderful to see those and more of those, that's what this gives you really more of.
Yeah, and it basically takes the look of the original stuffed animals and the cartoons and combines them into the most perfect characters ever. Mm-hmm. I've never liked the way they looked more than in this one.
Yeah. I mean, the only real complaint that I would have about the movie is that the ending is a little sappy.
The ending is probably the part that the kids would like because it's more's going on, there's more characters.
Yeah. And it's so like, oh, boss, I found the answer to all of our problems. Here it is. And then the bad guy gets his comeuppance and then everybody celebrates. And it's like...
It's a little zany.
Yeah. Again, it's just too much of a tonal shift from what the rest of the movie has been. Just a low-key, it's Pooh, it's Christopher Robin, back at ya with another banger.
Yeah, it's real life. I would have liked to have seen the ending be more realistic, like he got fired or something because he screwed up the presentation.
But still have the whole message being that it doesn't matter. Like, don't have it be like fired in like a depressing way.
Well, no, fired, or even him quitting and just going to be with his family, because the point of the movie is that you should be with your family as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Quitting would have been like the best ending, but no, it's like, I found a way and now I get to continue working at this garbage job.
Yeah, but I'm going to work less. Like,
right.
No, you shouldn't work there at all. Go live in the 100-acre wood.
But again, you know, that would directly contradict the spirit of responsibility.
But they could go back and live in that house of his and he could get like a local job. And it would have been perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah, the ending of the movie is weak, which is a shame because the rest of it is so joyous and a wonderful little romp.
And it's like other Disney movies, like the live-action remakes, well, I guess they all kind of... People get mad at the live-action remakes because they shouldn't be doing that, like, oh, they don't have any ideas. But it takes what the cartoon was and makes it like real life. It gives realistic problems. It makes you think about things rather than just watch and giggle. Mm-hmm. Like, there are so many moments in the movie that you think about long after they've passed.
I'm personally excited for the live-action Emperor's New Groove.
That's not happening.
It must happen. Why not?
It's too soon for that. They're just doing Dumbo this year, okay?
How about live-action Little Mermaid? Well, that would also be too soon. They did?
They did. I don't know if it was Disney, but they're doing one. They're doing one.
Maybe it'll
this
be
year, I think.
Maybe it'll be like the Hans Christian Andersen original tale, where like Ursula cuts her fin in half.
I think it's more based on that tone, but I don't know that it's that exact story.
Oh.
I'm not really sure. Just bringing it up. But no, there's not going to be an Emperor's New Groove live action.
How about Minions?
Shut up. That's not even Disney.
I know. It's from the worst animation company right now. Good old Illuminate. Have yet to make a fantastic movie. I mean, when your best movie is Despicable Me 1, and it's all downhill from there, you've got room to peak.
Just because your first movie is good does not mean you have to make a sequel. Or 5, or whatever they made now.
I will not be happy until we get an HBO Minions series. TVMA.
Please.
Wacky Tic Tacs.
Stop talking about them. You don't even like them.
I hate Minions. Minions are garbage. They are the worst thing that's
they
ever
are.
happened to
So
animation.
Stop talking about them.
They are every unfunny thing that happens in a kid's movie rolled into one. They are an insult to children's intelligence.
Okay, this isn't about Minions.
But we always end the episodes with some unrelated tangent.
But please not that one.
Alright, no Minions. We're pretty much at the end of our rope at this point anyway, so...
We've seen 9 movies. Christopher Robin has been my favorite. Was it yours?
No, I think 8th grade was.
Oh. I just love Pooh so much.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Don't listen to the haters. Don't listen to the fancy, we get paid a lot of money for our opinions film critics. It's a wonderful family movie, and if you were expecting Goodfellas, well, you're an idiot.
Oh, and like I said when we talked about Won't You Be My Neighbor, I said I can't really tell if the movie is that good or if it's just Mr. Rogers that's good. The movie was good, and so was Pooh. It was not just because of Pooh, but he was a big part. But the whole movie was good. I mean, apart from the ending.
So, in review, Extinction, pretty trash.
Don't see it.
Pretty trash. 8th grade, absolutely fantastic. Doesn't get much better in terms of directorial debuts. Christopher Robin, wonderful family romp through the 100-acre wood and London. And any final words from you?
I would say Christopher Robin's more of an adult movie, but...
It's still good for families, but...
Well, they'll like looking at the stuffed animals and
right,
stuff. But
exactly.
it's more for adults.
Yes. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Cool. So, that was it. Be Critics, Episode 3. We'll see you next week with some more spicy movies. Gucci.
Jeez.